Betrayed by Blood. Chapter 1. The Perfect Life That Wasn't. I used to believe my life was a picture-perfect dream. The kind of life you see in magazines. The doting husband, the cozy suburban home, and a future paved with love and promises. Jason was everything a woman could ask for. Charming, successful, and attentive. We met in college, married young, and built a life filled with little traditions. Sunday morning pancakes, Friday movie nights, and spontaneous weekend road trips. I was happy, or at least I thought I was. But life has a cruel sense of humor. When my father passed away unexpectedly, my mother, Linda, was left devastated. She was always an elegant woman, graceful even in grief. Her beauty hadn't faded with age. If anything, her sorrow made her look more delicate, more enchanting. Out of concern, I invited her to stay with us until she felt strong enough to live alone. Jason welcomed the idea. "She shouldn't be alone right now," he said, his hand gently squeezing mine. His empathy warmed my heart. How could I have known that very empathy would become the weapon that shattered my world? When Linda moved in, I noticed the change almost immediately. The atmosphere was different. Jason would linger in the kitchen if she was there, engaging in playful banter that bordered on flirtation. I told myself it was my imagination. After all, she was my mother, and Jason was my husband. Lines like that aren't crossed. But denial is a fragile shield, and cracks were beginning to form. Chapter 2. The Unspoken Glances. The days turned into weeks, and Linda's presence became a constant in our home. I wanted to believe that her stay was temporary, that once she healed, she would return to her own life. But with every passing day, her bond with Jason seemed to deepen. First, it was little things. Jason laughing a bit too hard at her jokes. Linda dressing in outfits far too revealing for casual dinners at home. Their casual touches. Her hand lingering on his shoulder, his arm grazing her waist. Felt off. Innocent enough to ignore, yet intimate enough to stir discomfort in me. I started questioning myself. Was I being paranoid? Jealous of my own mother? Every time I tried to voice my concerns to Jason, he dismissed them with a smile. "Emily, you're overthinking. She's lonely. We're just keeping her company." But company wasn't the word for what I saw in their eyes. One afternoon, I came home early from work. The house was quiet, yet I could hear soft laughter from the living room. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, I saw them sitting too close on the couch, sharing a glass of wine. Linda's hand rested on Jason's thigh, and his eyes held a gleam I hadn't seen in months. The pit in my stomach grew. That night, I lay awake beside Jason, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, wondering if I was losing my mind or if I was slowly losing my husband. Chapter 3. The Affair Uncovered. It was a rainy Thursday when my worst fears were confirmed. I had left work early due to a migraine. As I approached the house, I noticed Jason's car still in the driveway. Strange. He was supposed to be at a client meeting. The front door was slightly open. I pushed it, calling out, but no response came. Then, from upstairs, faint sounds reached my ears. Giggling whispers, the unmistakable creak of my bedroom door. I felt my body go cold. Every step up the staircase felt like trudging through wet cement. My mind screamed to turn back, but my legs moved forward, driven by a sickening need for the truth. As I reached the bedroom, the scene before me was a nightmare brought to life. Jason, my husband, in bed, with my mother. Their laughter died the instant they saw me. Jason scrambled to pull the sheets over them, his face pale. Linda didn't even flinch. She sat there, unapologetic, her lips curved in a smug smile as if she had won a prize. "Emily, this isn't what it looks like," Jason stammered. But it was exactly what it looked like. Couldn't breathe. The betrayal was suffocating, not just from Jason, but from the woman who had given birth to me. My own blood. "How long?" I managed to whisper. Neither answered. Their silence was the loudest confession. Chapter 4. The Confrontation. That evening, the air in our house was thick with tension. I had locked myself in the guest room, my mind replaying the scene over and over. The bed that was mine. The man who was mine. The woman who was supposed to protect me. Hours passed before Jason knocked on the door. "Emily, please, can we talk?" I opened the door, but the look in my eyes must have told him I was past the point of calm conversation. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, voice trembling. Jason looked down. "A few months." A sharp, bitter laugh escaped me. "So while I was mourning my father, you were sleeping with my mother?" "She understands me, Emily," he said, as if that justified everything. "You've been distant since your dad's death." "Linda." She was there. "She's my mother, Jason," I yelled. "You think that's an excuse?" Linda appeared behind him, draped in my robe, her face devoid of guilt. "Emily, don't be so dramatic. Jason needed affection. Something you've been neglecting." The audacity left me speechless. "You're my mother, Linda, not my competition. I'm also a woman. A woman who knows what a man needs," she retorted, her tone cold and condescending. That night, I packed a bag. There was no dramatic exit, no slamming doors. Just a quiet, heartbroken woman walking away from a house that no longer felt like home. Chapter 5. Reclaiming myself. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed at a friend's apartment, going through the motions while the weight of betrayal sat heavy on my chest. I wanted to hate them, to scream and cry, but mostly, I felt empty. Therapy became my refuge. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Reynolds, helped me untangle the mess in my heart. She taught me that their betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth but a mirror to their own brokenness. I started doing things for myself. Joined a yoga class, took weekend art workshops, reconnected with old friends. Slowly, the woman who had lost herself in being a wife and a daughter began to rediscover her own identity. Jason reached out multiple times, calls, messages, even flowers at my office. Each attempt was met with silence. Linda never contacted me. I suppose in her mind she had won. But I realized it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about walking away with your dignity intact. 6 months later, I filed for divorce. Jason didn't contest. Perhaps he knew there was no redemption left. Epilogue. The woman I became. A year had passed since that fateful day. Standing on the balcony of my new apartment, I looked out at the city skyline, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Betrayal breaks you, but it also rebuilds you. Stronger, wiser. I no longer carried the burden of their actions. My mother and Jason had made their choices, and I had made mine. I chose myself, and for the first time in a long while, that was enough.